right there. Am I recording? I think so. All right, whatever. I can edit out that part. Okay, what's up, guys? I am Kate with TypeMatch, and I'm here now with Shan from Objective Personality. Shan superpowers, I guess.
Right.
And
right.
I'm very excited to talk to you, but we were talking a little bit before, and I decided to start recording because I find that my most interesting conversations take place before and after my videos.
Right. Right.
And then I feel bad. I'm like, oh, that was the best content, and everybody missed out on it. So I just want to get to it right away.
That's great.
Yeah, we were talking about the direction of the app and how I want to take MBTI to a little bit more of the background, and we're going to be integrating some other measures of personality as well. But I want to utilize MBTI for, yes, compatibility, but there's much more to the picture than that. But also just, you know, as a tool for people to understand their needs in a relationship. Because, okay, you can fall in love with somebody, and compatibility is one thing. Maybe you're not the most compatible, or maybe you are, but either way, it's going to be difficult to be in a relationship because we're all humans. It doesn't matter if you're like amazing compatibility in theory.
Right.
Right. Everybody's hard to deal with. So I wanted to talk to you about, like, okay, you've fallen in love with somebody, but now you have to choose to love the person for years to come. And I wanted to get your insights about like how personality type plays into that, and specifically like the needs of different types and how they need to receive love, and the types of freakouts they're going to have and bumps along the way, where it's useful for you to be able to communicate, okay, I understand what's going on within me. This is what this is. And for the other person to recognize it as well. Like, hey, you're having an FI freak out right now.
Right.
I bring that down a little bit.
Right. Well, that's really good, because what you're saying there is, yeah, absolutely. You have like parts that will naturally go better with each other, you know, opposites attract, that kind of thing. And even if you get the most ideal parts, like perfect matching, perfect connection, you know, you have a similar language, same function, similar language, but opposite parts. And now you just have across the board, all the perfect default wiring. But you're still, like you said, they're still humans. So honestly, so much of it is just choosing to take responsibility on your own self. That's a big one. That's a really, really big one. And there's so much that gets wrecked when you start playing the blame game. Bitterness, it's your fault. I can see where you were messing up here. You constantly do that. Like, the ability to blame is one of the superpowers that the human mind seems to have, you know? And it does feel like, of course, there's like a ratio, like get the best connection that you possibly can, where you have a partner where you do have a lot of chemistry. There is a lot of the just natural, oh my gosh, I love being around you. I could talk to you forever. Everything we have in common. I want to build a life with you, that kind of thing. But then on the other side, it really, like, those building blocks, even though those are super critical, you still have to be the kind of person that knows you're crazy. Like, you have to know where your crazy is. If you don't know where your crazy is, it's going to manifest in every single relationship. And one of my favorite things that I hear people saying over and over and over again is, I attract this type of person. I'm like, oh, okay, I've said that before, where you're like, it must be the person. And what's so crazy is how much we create our environment. So if you don't own your crazy, if you don't own the stuff that you're doing, that you're setting up in your environment, because you're setting up all of these dominoes in your environment, all of these actions in your environment. And it's really, really easy to be like, that person isn't supporting me enough. That person is being very negative, very mean. You know, it's them. It's so easy to be able to do that because we're very, very unconscious of all of the things that we do to set off the fires of negativity in our environment. So the more that we can own our own crazy, our own parts, our own map of our own brain, it really makes relationships a lot more doable because of that personal responsibility, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I want to foster moving forward on the app. like sort of created a community like of people who are dedicated to self-growth and finding
Wow.
that truth within them that, oh, I'm not the easiest to live with. And there's this one modern philosopher, I guess would be his title,
Right.
Alain de Botton. I am not sure how to pronounce
Okay.
his name. He's French, but he's from
Okay.
Switzerland. But he has amazing lectures on love. And he talks about how like a great question to ask on a first date would be to ask somebody, how are you crazy? This is how I'm crazy.
That's so funny.
And that would
Really
be so
good.
authentic and revealing.
Right, right, right. Oh, I love that. That's so funny. Because, yeah, the default wiring is like, I need to find somebody that fits me. I need someone to mold to me. And it's so interesting that mindset of like, get the person outside of myself to be workable, perfect. They can't do this. They can't do, you come up with some amazing laundry list. It's just not going to cut it. If you had every single thing on your list, just it wouldn't matter because of the lack of ownership of your crazy.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of times we don't even know what we need in a relationship. And like for me at least, I want to speak for everybody. I've learned a lot through experience of relationships, like, oh,
Yeah.
I didn't know how much I needed reliability until I didn't have it.
Right.
And now
Right.
that's a major issue for me, like that I thought that people aren't reliable in my life.
Right.
And funny because
Wow.
I wasn't reliable today because I was late to this meeting, but still I'm a hypocrite then.
Hence why you need that person to fill the void of reliability. I know. I'm the same way.
Yeah, we're all a little bit hypocritical in what we need from others. But then
Right.
yeah.
That's so good though. But exactly what you're saying there, like, okay, reliability. Okay, why do I need that? Like start like the working backwards, because I would have said the exact same thing. I need somebody that's reliable. I need somebody that's good at planning. Why? Because I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not. Right. And then I think so much of what ends up happening. So it's exactly how all of us are wired. All of us have, how we talk about, you have the two functions that you're really good at and the two that you're not so good at. And we're wanting somebody to come in and fill our voids and complete us and, match the second half of your heart. And now you're one. Yes, that's true. Like, absolutely. Dave and I are exact opposites. So seeing how far I have to go by watching another partner that is so different from me is so, like, I learn so much by watching him.
Yeah.
But so much of that learning only came after I had to learn to actually like love what he does naturally and respect what he does naturally. And here's the kicker, actually start getting good at what he does naturally.
Yeah.
Because now, yeah, that one.
You
Right.
can't just like outsource it, like, oh, you're good at this. No,
That, right. Because now you're putting such a burden
yeah.
on the person next to you where you're like, well, you're going to take care of all of this. But then it's so funny because I know naturally, like I'm not good at with planning. I'm not the planner here. And by tossing it always to the guy that is good at planning, it's not just like the burden, because the actual physical work, of course, but the respect, that's a big one. And then also I notice that if you're not doing it, if you're not actually doing the actions of planning, the other person then starts feeling alone. And, I know both of us will feel that way. The other person feels completely alone and that there's no one there to partner with them in attempting to solve what they're trying to solve. So you're like, oh, okay, I didn't even think about it that way. Like, aren't you just happy getting to be the person planning? Like, no, they end up feeling very alone. I'm like, okay, so true connection, true love is I'm going to help you do what you are already trying to do. Now, I might not be the best guy. Like if we're on a team, I might not be the front man. I might not be person A on that thing, but I am going to be the best person B I possibly can, because I want to help us both do what you're trying to have us get done, if that makes sense.
This is amazing. It's almost very serendipitous that we're talking about the exact thing that my boyfriend and I have been talking about for the past couple of weeks. Because
That's so good.
he points out that like I'm very quick to point out problems, but then I don't aid in the solution because I'm like, well,
yeah.
because I'm like, you need to make a schedule, and then he goes, and makes the schedule, and he's like, well, don't you want to help? And I'm like, well, I don't care what the dates are. It
Right.
doesn't mean anything. I just need to know that there is a schedule. And then he makes it, and I'm like, why did you pick that date?
Right?
Like, I am the worst. I'm horrible. So like, this has been a big learning experience for me just recently.
Oh my God, that's so good. That is so good. That one I find to be the biggest thing is it feels like you kind of get like king syndrome on the functions you don't want to do. So like, since both you and I have have the planning that's harder. So it's like, okay, everybody line up and give me the plan. I won't do it, but I'll just be like, nope, next. Nope, don't like that either. Nope. And the person's like, oh my God. Because it's so much work to create that plan and like being on the outside, not respecting the process, not going through it. I'm just like, I don't like anything. I don't like that. I don't want that plan.
This doesn't
So
make
like,
sense.
right.
Why
Why
would you
do it that
that?
way? Yes, totally.
Oh, that's awful. Yeah.
Yeah. But like by choosing to be like, oh my God, I know I'm going to hate this process. And yes, you are going to be person A,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm going to at least be involved because I recognize how critical it is for me to be involved in the beginning, middle, and end of that whole process of creating the plan. I
So
might not like it. I might not be person A, but I want to be involved so I can see how you
yeah,
got there and then get better at it over time,
I
that too.
think basically what we're talking about is like forcing yourself to do your demons.
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally.
So if
Totally.
people aren't familiar with like your framework, I guess, would you explain real
Right.
quick about
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
saviors and demons?
Yeah. So it's fascinating because we all see ourselves upside down. So I'll start there. But like I'm really good at planning, and then you like follow the person around. You're like, then how come you're gathering so much? It's by default, we have these human needs that roll around in our brain. There's four of them. You're either going to be the four are you're going to either narrow down, plan, want to eliminate options off the board. So the planners, right? And then the counter to that is gathering, variety, new, bigger, better, best. So those are opposites of each other. And those are like observations. It's how you're going to manage information. You're either going to be the one to manage information by organizing it, narrowing it down, keeping it the same, making it the rules stay the same, wanting things to stay in order, scheduling things, wanting to control it. Or the opposite role on this planet is you're the one going to be responsible for gathering, creating disruption for the purpose of possible, better, best, that kind of thing. So those are how you will take in information. You'll either be taking in and ordering it or scattering and wanting new. And then the deciders, there's two deciders. You're now either going to be deciding based on your personal own decision maker. And I know everybody thinks that they decide on their own personal decision maker, but half of us decide based on taking a poll. We will unconsciously, absolutely unconsciously, take a poll from the people around us. And a lot of those of us that have DE is we will say we need permission. I don't have permission. I need permission. I'm never giving myself permission. And you're constantly putting the tribe's perspective. So you're looking outward, constantly trying to get in other people's heads. What's going on for them? How is it working for them? How are they feeling? How are they valuing things? Constantly seeking outward versus knowing the self opinion. And those are the two human needs. You'll have either overabundance of a self report or overabundance of how it's working for others. And those are a counter. And what's so weird is that you have all four of those human needs. You have them all. So you'll be able to experience those human needs at some point in time throughout the day. You're going to see yourself being able to use those. What's so fascinating about the human mind is it gives a priority to one observer and one decider. It's almost like it does it for the sake of survival. If you have to make a quick observation and decision, it gives a priority. So by default, you're going to have either, gathering or organizing, and you're going to have either self decision making or other decision making by default. And we call them saviors, those that you favor, and we call them demons, those that you do not favor. And the reason we call them that is we watched thousands of videos of kids, right? On YouTube and stuff. And every time somebody was talking about the functions they don't prefer, it was dark. It's like dark, those are bad. The world should not have those. I shouldn't have to do them. This is what's wrong with the government. This is what's wrong with my family. This is what's wrong with my friend or ex-partner. Like, it was always put in a very demonized way. And then the way that we talk about our two preferred functions is that this is what we need. This is what I'm going to take to save the world. And we, you know, so we called those saviors. So yeah, those are the two functions. And then they do correlate with whether it's sensory preparation, like you are either going to be taking in a lot of details, you're going to be managing details, you know, like you can actually take the function themselves, the function itself, and attach it to the human need. And that's when it starts adding all the different parts. So sensory and intuition, those are opposites. You're either going to be taking in sensory, which is just data that exists, things that currently exist, not theoretical. That's intuition. Theoretical doesn't exist. Analogies, constantly staring at patterns, only staring at patterns, therefore not looking at the physical world. And those two are a counter. So if you add those are actual observation functions. If you add those to the human needs, you're now going to get a cognitive function. So for instance, sensory, if you are an organizer. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay, we're good. My boyfriend just came in, so I don't want to disrupt this.
Caring about the tribe.
Hair. Lovely.
Yeah. That's good.
There we go. Sorry.
That's good. That's good.
It's fine. Okay. Please continue though.
Okay. Yeah. So for example, the sensory attached to a human need, it's either going to be extroverted or introverted. The extroverted is the variety seeker and the introverted is the planner. So it's either going to be sensory introverted, which is SI, or sensory extroverted, which is SE. Those that are sensory introverted are going to be going over the known facts and organizing and controlling the known facts in reality. A lot of our rules, laws, road systems, government systems, forms, all of that very controlled sensory schools, all of that. Like every time you very controlled, narrowed in, repetitive sensory. That's done largely by the cognitive function of SI. And then SE is like, I have to gather the best experience. And that is a physical experience. It's largely taken in through the senses. Yeah. I want to see it. I want to read it. I want to experience. I want to gather it. And therefore, that's what sensory extroverted looks like. And then you add the, intuition. It's the same idea. And then for the deciders, it's going to be either thinking or feeling. Same thing, human needs, it's going to either introvert or extrovert. So
balancing off the self and tribe. I was wondering, earlier you said that you and Dave have like opposite parts. Now, what do you mean by opposite parts? Because you guys have all the same functions, right?
Right. Really good. Okay. Really good.
So how are the opposite parts?
Okay. So I'm an ENTJ. My function stack is TE. So that's thinking extroverted. So I'm looking to the tribe first and pinging off the decision-making of the tribe first. So that's my top function. And then it goes NI, that's introverted intuition, SE, extroverted sensing, and then FI. That's my function stack, right?
Yeah.
And in Myers-Briggs, it's just like ENTJ. Problem is, in our system, what we've actually seen, if you've pulled apart what that function stack means, there's different versions of ENTJs. In fact, we've seen that there are 32 different versions of ENTJs. Dave is an INTJ. So it seems like we're very similar. We're almost the same. One is introverted, one is extroverted. Actually, we have opposite functions that are hit. So for him, he's actually NI, and then he jumps and he's FI. So he's using his decider that is feeling based. But then he's also a more of a talky one. So he's going to be speaking a lot, blasting a lot, sharing information a lot, and therefore not taking in a lot of information, just used to being the one sharing the information. On the opposite side, I skip. So I'm TESE. So I'm jumping my NI and my FI is still a demon. So it's weird how our functions just go directly opposite.
Okay.
Crazy.
Aren't your functions also opposite in terms of whether they're masculine and feminine? Or are they? Okay.
Yeah.
I
He's
think there's
audio.
something to that.
Yeah, right.
Well, of course, like, of course you think there is, it's your sister. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's like hard to all explain. Like I have like all this information I'm trying to put in a nugget, but yeah, the masculine feminine is also different. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's hard to explain in a short video like this. So if people are interested in the terms that we're talking about, like animals and masculine, feminine, you can go check out objective personality. But for the people who do know, because it's mostly going to be your audience, it's attracted to this video.
Right.
What are the types of like issues that having different animals or having the same animals can have in terms of
Okay.
communication in a relationship?
Right. That's really, really good. I've tried to spend a long time on figuring out what the priorities are, as far as like which ones matter the most. One thing that we've been processing this week is how much. So let me back up. Everyone loves to stare at the human need of their first function. So everyone just stares at the importance of the human need of their first function very, very, very unconsciously, and then swings to their last function. No, I'm really obsessed about that one. And it's just a very swing. It's very, very swing. So like
Yes.
every single person who's a single decider obsessively talks about it's not fair, respect. It's not fair, respect. It's not fair, respect. Fair is like, I need the tribe all to be on the same vibe. And that's what the DE, that's what either TE or FE is obsessed with. It has to be fair. Everybody has to align. And then you swing to that demon introverted decider. I need respect. I need respect. I need respect. I need to be recognized, credit where credit is due. I want to be important. I want to be seen as important. I want to matter on this planet. And that's what you'll swing at. So every single EJ and every single IP will obsessively talk about that. It's the opposite for the single observers. The single observers will obsess about we need more variety. We need more options the better. You have to keep options open. Don't narrow things down, and then swing to certainty.
Yes.
It has to be certain. I have to have control. Things have to be in order, but then swing back to, so therefore I'm going to overdo more options, and then just get themselves. So that's what everybody obsesses about. And that's what they will talk about.
Yeah.
But the crazy thing is what the tribe sees and what the tribe gets hit by is the person's last animal. And, you know, for those of you who like an animal is just two of your cognitive functions working together, an observer and a decider. So you have all four of them, you have all four of the combinations, but they go in order from your saviors. You get that one first, and then they go in order after that. And what's so crazy, so from me, if you're in my life, what you would get absolutely pissed off, can't stand you, don't want to be around you, you cause all these problems all day long, is my blast last. That's what.
Why is that?
So that's on everybody, but for me, I'm blast last, so that's the one that would hit you. For me, Dave, it would be the consume. That's what would hit you on Dave. And every single person, where you end up going, oh my God, I can't stand being around you, is that giant void that they will leave in that last animal.
But what is the void that the different animals leave?
Okay, I see what you're saying. So blast in particular, we don't communicate. We don't narrow down information. We don't say where we're going. A lot of times we'll just leave a room and like just completely.
That's so funny. I know someone like that. I always thought was hilarious. There you go.
Yeah. And like won't email you back. You'll email the person and they just won't say anything back. Just giant void leavers in the realm of communication. Just the amount, I'm like, I didn't even know how much communication was needed until I was with Dave. I'm like, wow, okay, so I already told you I was going to meet you at this time. Why do I need to email you 50 times more just to be like, you got it, right? You got it. Yeah, okay, I'll be there. Okay, I'll be there in 5 minutes. Okay, like that's what the blasters are so good at. And I'm like, I just figured we said it once and that wasn't so yeah, that's where giant void. And therefore also never getting started, always cauldron energy, because you'll over consume. You'll just take in, never get started, never transition, never just jump in and make it happen. That is what my particular type is, just abusive over. Option overload. I'll never narrow down. I'll never even get started. Just, yeah. So that's blast last. Play last is another very similar one because it's an extroverted animal. It has the two extroverted functions working together. So you have OE, the variety one, and DE, the tribe one. So play, like, it's what we're doing right now. Like, you'll say something and it's a new idea. I've never heard of it. And I now have to go, okay, let me talk back and come up with something that relates. And so much conversation happens with play, because you have to give and take and give and take and give and take. And a lot of people that have play last, I mean, it's funny because people will be like, I'm such an introvert. I'm like, wait till you see a play last. Like, it's like they just don't really show up in the outside world a whole lot because they're not wanting to engage. They'll genuinely just not engage because it's so draining to deal with the chaos from the tribe. And like, we've coined the term like void leavers. They're very much void leavers. Like, drop the ball. If you toss them a ball, hey, I need you to go get XYZ, they'll drop the ball. They won't be there to deal with, I have to expend energy for the tribe right now. That's what's needed right now. And a lot of them are just like, nope.
Isn't Elon Musk that?
He's close. He's a blast laster, but he also has demon play because he's got consume sleep in the top two. So he's gonna have both of those problems.
I was just thinking about like watching him on Joe Rogan, and he's very hard to keep a conversation going with.
Yes.
You'll send something to him and he'll just like
right. That's exactly it. Yeah. That's exactly it. And he's gonna have the double void because he's consumed sleep at the top, the two introverted animals he's got at the top. So he's gonna have a hard time leaving a void in conversation, big time. And then also leaving a void with, I didn't expend energy for the outside world. I didn't jump over a fence, even though jumping over a fence right now was needed, that kind of concept. Sleep, those that are sleep last, the sleep function is the two introverted animals. So it's got whatever it is, whether it's SI or NI, or it's FI or TI. It's those two working together. And it's basically very self-interested. It's your own opinion interested, what is going on with the self. And that sleep function acts like a brake pedal. It wants to stop. It needs to process. It needs to go back over its own information. A lot of times it's like no new information coming in. You can see it as meditating, sort of. It depends. You can't be taking in any, no consuming. No consuming, no listening to a podcast while you're meditating. It's very much like, how am I doing? How's it going? Checking in. How do I feel? What happened today? What's going on? I don't know what's going on. I got to go check in. I got to go, how am I doing? How's my life path going? And you're just looking at your own introverted information as well as the self.
I was trying to, to bring it back to me, of course, but I was trying to figure out what my last animal was, because I'm not sure if it's consume or sleep.
Very good. Very good.
I think it might be sleep, as I don't. You asked me when we started, how are you? I'm like, I don't know.
Right.
I never know how to answer that question. Like, my joints are cracking.
Right.
There's some information.
Right. Very good. Very good. I do think sleep is one of your demon animals. That's very good. So let's talk about consume.
Yeah.
So consume is having to, and let me just pause. Like, of course, those that have sleep last, go, energizer, go, crash, major crash. And that's what, like, a lot of them will actually cause like physical harm, because it's like driving with your car. Even though the engine's burning out, the gas is gone, the oil's gone, that's what sleep last can do. So of course it causes a lot of problems and you can see them. I mean, Gary Vee, Tony Robbins, those are like, go machines. And you're just sort of watching from the outside going, oh, you're going to crash, So careful, take some sleep days. But let's talk about consume last. So consume is a very weird one. It's hard to see in people because those that have consume last are so smart. They're go, go, go. They get stuff done, but they're energy dominant because they care a lot about the sleep and play balance because they have sleep and play in the top three, but they're not taking in new information about, and then also checking, how do I feel about it? Or what do I think about it? So they're able to like go over and get things done on their mission, on their plan, but like what will happen to the consume last is they'll just like the sleep energy last, they'll get like a power hit of like all this information that they weren't paying attention to all at once out of nowhere, and they'll get that surprise. And sometimes it'll happen once every very good.
Not me. Someone else in my life.
Oh, okay. That's good.
Cool.
Yeah. That's a hard one to see. That one is a very hard one to see because you're not checking new for the self. That's what Dave has last.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, it's hard to see too because I think just some of them come off automatically as like cooler.
Right.
There's a big problem in the community of what do you want to think that you are or see yourself as, and what are you actually? And I struggled with this, and now I'm a hypocrite because I'm like, you're all mistyped. I was mistyped, so you're all mistyped. But like, I didn't see it. I didn't see it either. You know.
Right. That's very good. It's hard. I've tried to figure that one out for a very long time. I'm still working on theories of what the brain is doing. My current theory of why we're seeing ourselves completely upside down, I think it has a lot to do, of course, as everything does, a lot to do with the evolutionary survival process. And I think what's going on is the grass is greener effect. If your brain tells you you're missing something, then it's telling you there's something wrong with you. So your brain can't accept that. Otherwise it would eliminate itself. It would kill itself off. So it's weird to me, but it does seem like the rarity or the need, the void of your demons, it's like your brain will lock onto it and obsess about it. But then when it goes to do work, it's like two sides of your brain. It's very fascinating how the two sides of the brain are doing completely different things. One will obsess about the demons, like I have to have that. But then you'll go to work and you'll do your saviors on crack cocaine, not even realizing you're doing it all day long. So it's like setting up even more of a desire, even more of a need and a want for that missing information, for that missing part. The obsession is always there of like, I need that, I want that. And it seems like that's what people are seeing in themselves. No, I see that as myself. Like, well, yeah, that is a function you have, but it's really hard to step back and actually track, okay, I'm here with a clipboard. I'm a scientist. What am I saying? What is coming out of my mouth 98% of the day? And what is coming out, the fruits of my actions, 98% of the day? That's what we're tracking, not the random stories people tell about themselves. We're not tracking, well, I was this and me and my mom and this, like, I know I was in a bad state in that video. We're not tracking that. It's literally coming out. It's like as if your brain was a computer program. It's coming out like a receipt out of your mouth.
Yeah.
You can hear it in the way that I talk. I have a very certain cadence. The words that are coming out, I'm talking about specific, detailed data information in a very channel changing way. And I'm talking about it in a perspective of for the tribe's sake of understanding. If you know what pattern you're looking for, you can hear it in every single sentence structure that comes out of my mouth. And guess what? That leaves a void. What am I not talking about? How I feel, how I'm doing. That's what I'm not talking about. And so that's what we're watching. We're not watching what somebody says about themselves, what they see in themselves. A lot of times they'll remember one random memory of, I did my demons this one time, and that's the only thing that's stuck in my brain. We're not tracking that. We're tracking, it's just, you can hear it, you can see it in every single cadence of somebody's talking, just in a sentence structure. Yeah. And all of their physical actions, how they play out in life, reoccurring patterns of behavior, those things.
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing to say that. That's all correct. That's all cool. I watched a video with you just before we started, and you were talking about like how it's sort of like you were talking about your life purpose is to like build character in people. And I wrote down, you write, to give them freedom from their default wiring.
Yeah.
So how do you do that?
Right. Wow. Yeah, that is the life goal right there. It was funny because the journey very much started where I did not want to be, what we considered alpha. I don't want to be an alpha. I don't want attention. I don't want I don't want any of that stuff. I just want to be left alone. I don't want to grow. I want to be the kind of person that just enjoys my life. I wanted to be a townsfolk, what we call townsfolk. I just want to be happy. Leave me alone. Right. Like by nature, that's just my default by nature. But discovering the code, so taking the cognitive functions to a whole nother level by going and actually going, what is going on with these cognitive functions and seeing the patterns? It's like, your eyes open up and you can see people completely differently. You can't go back from that. You can't back up from that. I can't not hear it out of every single human's mouth. And so you're like, damn, okay, that's so much responsibility. I have to do something about this. And then like what ends up happening is you end up feeling very alone because you're like, I want to just be able to tell you it's not real. Everything you're worried about, it's totally just a program. It's not real. You don't have to fear the Illuminati. It's fucking not real. It's like,
people hate it though when you describe their problems like real things in terms of cognitive functions. Like, oh, that's just your FE demon. Like,
right.
So mad. So how do you bring that to them in a palatable package?
I wish I had an easy answer for that one because honestly, I've had to back up so much from, TE helpertoning the tribe and seeing how much it's like in this position, what has really started to happen, I've started to realize I can't help anyone that's not already helping themselves. So like our way of at least getting people's conscious level of like, oh, wait, whoa, this stuff I'm afraid of isn't real. Like that's what the videos are about. And the more that we put out the videos, people are recognizing, oh my God, I thought that people were controlling me and they were coming after me. And because I watched your video, I saw that was coming from inside my wiring because of course my obsession with gathering. So it feels like the whole world is trying to control me. And then I told myself, hold on, this isn't real. And then I walked through that scenario and nothing happened. And oh my God, it wasn't real. And you're watching people's brains wake up. So the information that we're putting out there is starting to resonate. I mean, we're getting people in our emails just by the hundreds talking about like my mind is breaking. It's waking up. And I now we're sort of in a position where we're waiting for people who are like, okay, I'm in. I want to wake up. I want to be free of my default wiring. I don't want to think that I'm stuck ever again. I don't ever want to believe that I'm stuck on this planet because if every single thing is about the perspective of the human, my wiring is designing my life output. I want to get control of that.
Yeah.
And right. And so much of it has nothing to do with the details of what you're doing. Who cares about what job you have if you're now just on a mission to develop the character of seeing self? Who cares? The job you pick, I'm just telling you right now, the job, the school, the blah, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter because every single path you choose has your demon functions waiting for you. You can't avoid them. So if you stop trying to avoid them and embrace them and work on them, just like we were talking about at the beginning of the conversation, life gets so free because you're able to go, oh my God, it's just like a resistance factor. So if I stop resisting every single thing that causes me that immediate pain, if I stop resisting that and then I work on it, you mean it gets easier? It's like, yes, it's just like working out a muscle. You can actually go past. It's like, think about when you're a kid and you're like, I have to eat this whole bag of candy because it's right here. And the next day you're like, oh my God, I'm throwing up. As a adult, you stop playing that game. You're like, okay, I need to back up here. I need to not just go for the immediate pleasure because in the long term, that causes so many more problems. That's all this is. It's just that our brains have been designed to go for pleasure only, no pain.
Mm-hmm.
And once you get past that, because you're like, I don't want future pain. I want to take control over the crazy input that's bouncing around in my brain of telling me fear this and run towards that. I want to get power over that. And I want to stop playing this game of avoid pain, avoid pain, avoid pain everywhere I go. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Sorry, I just want to reflect on that for a moment.
Process. There you go. See, that's your sleep function. Processing time.
I always want to, but then I'm like, there's no time. Must move on.
Go, go, go.
But I think that's the point in which you know that you're actually that you're a healthy person and that you are ready for, or that you are in a healthy relationship.
Right.
When you can do that, and because the other person is going to bring light to your demons, because they can see you very well.
Yeah.
And they're the only ones, well, usually they're the only ones who care enough to point out your faults to you.
Good one. Yeah.
Like your exes definitely know what they are, but they're not going to tell you. So
really good.
Why are you pushing away this one person who cares so much that they're like, listen, this is an issue that you have.
Right.
And you're ruining our lives, but like you're ruining yours.
Right.
But it's hard to also package that like as the other person in the relationship in not just an accusatory, critical manner. But,
right.
So yeah.
That's exactly back to what we were kind of talking about in the very beginning, where it's like, yes, you can get someone who has the parts that are close enough, that are similar, right?
Yeah.
But then you have to do all the work on the back end to be ready to blame yourself and put the pressure on yourself. So you're like starting with the framework of, yes, I want to be compatible. Yes, I want to have the chemistry, but I got to put in the work. What you're talking about there is how much work it actually takes. This is why most people lie to us. Like that one's going to be hard to stomach, but most people lie to their friends, their family members, coworkers, because it's so much like life source to be like, okay, so here's your shit. You're crazy. I love you, but we got to work on this or we're not going to make it. Yeah. And that's why, like, who do you really want to invest in? Because if you bring somebody into your life that's a, crazy monster and isn't taking any responsibility to see self and track self, manage self, you're going to have all kinds of problems because it has to be two ways. It has to be one person going, I am desperate to solve my own mess. And it has to be the other person who is like, I am also willing to share with you. The more you ask, the more I will share. And if you're not having that overabundance of, I want to know, okay, fine, I will tell you the hard information, then it doesn't work out. Because so much of us will play the game of so-and-so really needs to hear this. Like, oh my God, you're doing it now. And guess what? If that's the game that you play everywhere, no one will be honest with you because no one can share with you because you're always the version that's saying, you need to work on. You need to work on. Do you know how addicting it is to be around somebody who's like, here's my crazy, here's what I need to work on. I have all these faults. I'm going to be doing this. Here's my mission and how I'm actually going to solve this. Here's some objective goals that I'm going to set up for myself to actually prove it in reality. Oh my gosh. If you want to change the people around you, be the mover, be the starter, and then they will follow along. Nobody wants to be the first. Be the first. And therefore you get all the benefits because now your environment changes. It's amazing how much people change when we change our internal wiring,
Are they following our cues in growth? Yeah.
Two things. Not only do they follow your cues in growth, for sure. The second thing is we are creating our environment by projecting what's going on inside of our mind.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the world is controlling. That everyone is controlling. No, you're controlling. Oh, the world is mean. Everybody's mean. You're mean. They're mean. They're so mean to me. No, you're mean. But we project what's inside here to an extreme. And therefore, the second you stop that behavior and you start filling in your own voids, not needing anybody to be nice because you're the one putting pressure on self instead of pressure on others, your whole, every person in your environment starts becoming really workable.
Okay.
Everything becomes so much more work. People are easier to deal with, nicer. Systems are easier to manage because of the pressure that you put on yourself.
Is it the, I mean, we talked about the animals being last, and like these are like areas where you're difficult to deal with and crazy, and you could express this to your partner and how you're going to work on that. But what about like, I think you call tidal waves. Yeah. For the different functions. Could you run through those? Like, I don't know, a quick synopsis of like what each kind of tidal wave could look like. I know you do like whole videos on each. So
I could try. Okay. So tidal waves of the last animal or tidal waves of like the last function?
Oh, I didn't know they were different.
Okay. So cognitive functions are, I know it's just a spider web that crawls outwardly. So animals are made up of two functions. So
so you're right. Yeah. Okay. Right. So tidal waves of the last function then.
Okay. Yes. So there's 8 cognitive functions. So you're going to have one of those last. I'll start with the human needs because the human needs pare it down to 4.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do that.
Yeah. So FI and TI, those are both the introverted decider. And they have the letter connecting to those. So if you're introverted thinking last, your major struggles in life are going to be not solving things for your own self, not figuring out things for yourself, because the thinking function very much works like it needs to be useful. I have to figure it out. I have to figure out the reasons for things. You're banging blocks together and actually figuring out how things work. Now, a lot of the FEs at the top, those that have savior extroverted feeling, that's the opposite of the TI. They're constantly responsible for, let's make it fun. Let's make it positive. Let's make the chemicals this. Let's make the chemicals that. They're going to be responsible for this chemical interaction of how people feel, what they feel about me, and what's appropriate and the right way to behave. They're going to be constantly aware of that, but completely leaving on the table, figuring out your inner truth. That's a big one that they always say. My truth. I wasn't allowed to share my truth. You'll see this in Oprah. She a lot of her quotes will be about, I figured out my truth, and that is my greatest mindset, that I figured that out, and I finally figured out who I am and how I do things.
That's a phrase that always really just annoys me. I'm like, you can't have your own truth. It's true or it's not. Like
TE. Very good. That's extroverted thinking.
But very good. That always annoys me. But anyway.
Very good.
Your truth, that's nice.
That's very good. You're using TE. TE for you and I is thinking on a spectrum. You don't have a personal truth or way of doing things. It has to be managed with the tribe. And that extroverted thinking has the FI last. So, I'll talk about FI last. I have FI last. FI last is like, I don't know how I feel. I don't know what matters to me. I don't know what chemicals are important. I don't know how to prioritize. Straight up don't know how I feel. And it's funny because a lot of people who are like savior feelers will think that they're savior TE, but it's like, those of us that are savior TE legitimately just don't look there. It's not that we don't have chemicals. It's not that I can't tell you what I like. I can tell you what I like after the fact. But like, a really good example, when we first got on the phone, I'm like, how are you doing? Yes. How are you feeling? You're like, I don't know. I haven't checked in there for a while. Right. I'm the same exact way. I have a really hard time seeing how I feel because I'm in the outside world making things work. I got to make that work. I got to make that work. I got to make that work. How are they doing? Is everybody doing things right? Okay, let's make these physically and that's now back to banging blocks as a TE person for the extroverted spectrum for everybody else. So that's how TE works. And then, yeah, of course, what ends up happening for those that have FI last is you just completely are an idiot with taking care of self, not knowing, like not checking in on what matters to me. You'll be doing a job for other people and going, do I even want to do this? Like, oh, I didn't even think about that. So a lot of times you'll get an overwhelming tidal wave of, oh my God, I hate it here. Oh my God, I hate this person. Oh my God, I hate my job. Like just all at once, it'll just wash over you in a panic. Those that have SI last, so NE at the top, big time missing information on just a lot of fear of the government controlling us, the government, those kind of just observer fears, demon SI, they don't, a lot of times they'll just absolutely be missing information when it comes to not tracking any of the physical things in their life, just completely unaware of the physical universe. And, it's funny because a lot of the SEs, a lot of savior SEs at the top will type themselves as savior NE, but they're scanning. They're constantly, like the savior SEs at the top are constantly scanning, constantly looking around and aware of the physical universe. Those that are in NE, they're in theoretical land all day. This possibility, that possibility, this multi-dimension, this thing, that connects to this. Therefore, the physical tethered to the universe information is just, it's not available.
Yeah.
I'm kind of getting on a tangent. Of course, this is what it's like last. I'm getting on a tangent. So back to the human needs. Demon control. So whether you're demon OI, whether it's NI or SI, absolutely not paying attention to the realm of control. And for those that are NI, it's not tracking future, not tracking what's next week, next month, next year, 10 years from now, and then putting into action, narrowing down, choosing a singular path. Because for the EPs, options open, always look for better, bigger, better, best, and therefore causing a problem, not narrowing down. The IPs, those that have DE function last, TE or FE, because they're in their own singular perspective for so long, just always in self-report land, they will get massive tidal waves from the tribe's perspective. All of a sudden, all at once, they're going to go, wait, the tribe doesn't like me. The tribe is not on board with me. The tribe doesn't believe in me. I've been obsessed with my own thing. And now the tribe is going, we're not on board with you. And they will have a major, major tidal wave because they're not checking in. They're never checking in with the tribe's perspective. Which one am I missing? I'm missing, let's see, I did the EJs, IJs. They have OE as a demon function. So whether it's SE or NE, they're mostly obsessed with their box, whatever the information is inside of their box, because they're organizing and they're going over their known information. They're very chapter talkers. They build. They're constantly the builders. They are the ones that build. They are the ones that do the scheduling. They're the ones that do the planning constantly, the ones that build. And therefore, because they're obsessively looking over their own plan and their own information all day long, chaos constantly. New chaotic information, and therefore they'll have a giant void all at once, constantly chaos smashing into their box. That's the tidal waves that they will largely have. Yeah.
I think this is extremely helpful information for people to be able to just like, even if they just watch only this video and take away that little snippet, and that they could like tell their partner like, okay, this is what's going on. This is I recognize this is a problem that I have. This is a reoccurring pattern in my life. Or maybe their partner can compassionately to them. That's okay. We're not going to be able to move past this until we recognize that this is what's going on. And that what you think is happening here is not actually reality.
That's really good. Because if it comes down to the person thinking that there's only something wrong with the other person and not realizing that this is a struggle we all have, you're going to think that you'll solve it by moving to the next relationship. Maybe that's true. Maybe you legitimately are in a situation where it's not solvable. But I would bet most of the time that it's a large part of it, especially, here's how you know, especially if this is a reoccurring problem in your life. Oh, I always date the narcissist. It's like, well, back up. How much of that is coming from the need or the fear of a DI function. Oh, I'm afraid of those that stand up for their own opinion. I'm afraid of those that have their arrogant own opinion. You have to sacrifice yourself to the tribe, always be in the tribe's perspective. Obviously, that's the savior to this world. It's like you're having insecurity problems because of that fear of the DI. And that's where, if you can start recognizing, going, oh my gosh, okay, so I actually need to be more opinionated. I need to be more self-oriented. I need to have my own perspective. That seems so backwards. It seems so wrong, but that's only feeling that way because of your default wiring. So the more that we know all 4 functions are needed, all 4 of your human needs are needed. You have to manage control. You have to manage variety. You have to manage your own self-opinion, and you have to manage the tribe's perspective. You have to have all of those in a balance. Now, you will always have your savior functions. You will always obsess about your savior functions. But the more that you can take in and go, I have to obsess about getting better at my demons, now the people in your life are allowed to flow with you, because it's going to be a case-by-case basis every day. Every day you're going to be like, I know it's needed. It'll just be like, my saviors.
Yeah.
So the more that you can self-reflect and go, I'm missing half the board, so is everyone. It helps recognize there's so much more that can be done. You're not stuck. Oh, it's the person that I'm with. It's like, largely, we're just not stuck. Anywhere you go, the stronger you are as an individual, the more everyone around you becomes unbelievably workable, you know?
Yeah. Everybody's going to bring their problems. And some of those problems, of course, are non-negotiable if they're abusive or something. But otherwise, you know, is the problems that like imaginary person is going to bring so much easier than your current problems.
Really good.
There are a lot of cliches around this, like, oh, well, you have to work on yourself first, and like the right person will show up when it's time, and that's like so maddening to hear, because like I am working on myself. Like I've been doing that, but I don't know. Like I've realized, there is a lot of truth in these cliches.
Right. I know. Drink 8 ounces of water. You're like, okay, it's not solving this.
No man has showed up since I started drinking more water.
That's pretty good.
But it's about like what you like, you know, you work on your own perspectives of yourself, and then what you project into world better things. So maybe the right person comes along, it's not because it's the right person, but because you're finally projecting the right view onto the world. And before, you would view him as a narcissist or whatever. I don't know what we were talking about. But now, that's because good. You see, like, you fixed it within yourself, you see them more positively, and you're ready.
Totally. So just giving a personal example of that, I used to be, I'm lead TE at the top, masculine TE. So like the way that behaves is it's very like, this is the right way to do things. And of course I had no idea. I'm very soft, very feminine. I deal with people very nicely. That's who I am. Like, of course, that's my perspective of myself. No idea that the outside tribe sees me as a big giant T-Rex. I'm like, no, that's not me, you know? But it's such a sharp function. I mean, you could hear it in my tone. It's very sharp. This is how it is. This is how we do things. This is how it works, you know? And so, of course, if that's how your voice is, even if that's how you're like hitting the outside world constantly with, no, it's this, no, it works like this, what kind of reactions are you going to be getting from the people in your environment? Oh, they were just mean to me. Why were they mean to you? Where are they getting this aggression from? You know? I don't know. That's so weird, you know, that all of the outside environment is one way to you, but they're not that way to me. And that as soon as you start partnering, it was great seeing how different Dave is from me, because he's got feminine T, so there's opposite functions, and savior masculine FI. So it's like the way he sees the tribe is super workable, super nice, super movable. I'm like, okay. So if we're interacting with the same person, I'm like, that person was aggressive and punchy, and it's like, I didn't see him that way. It's like, all right. Well, I better self-reflect, because wow, to the TE, like almost every single masculine TE sees the world as mean. Now this is a reoccurring phrase we hear, especially for those that are DE, that are extroverted deciders, say this all the time.
Yeah.
And you have to go, hold on a second, why? What's going on? You're creating this like aura of information that's getting transmitted to the people around you everywhere you go. You've got this bubble around you, so every single interaction. And sorry, if you are a T-Rex that barks, what are the animals going to do? Like you're going to get a certain interaction with everyone. And so of course that changes the second you dial down, the second you engage, the second you acknowledge, hi everyone, I recognize I'm a T-Rex. I'm sorry if I bite your hand off, I will apologize. Do know that I know it's me. So it's like if you can at least give a consciousness of I'm aware, I know, I'm really aggressive, I'm aware.
I'm really aggressive.
I can see it. I can see it now.
That's so funny.
It helps.
Yeah.
It helps bridge the gap. And so everyone just goes, oh, okay, at least they know.
Yeah. That's just how they communicate, but the tone isn't intended.
Right. It changes. Your whole life will change.
Yeah. One thing that I've learned about myself recently and that I'm working on, it was a quick fix, I just never saw it before, was that because I like to make decisions in the moment, I assume that other people do. And so I will steamroll them into deciding something right now that they weren't ready for. And then they want to go back later on our agreement.
Oh, very good. Yeah.
So now I'm just like, why don't you go away and talk about it? Like, think about it. And they're like, no, I'm good. I'm like, no, go away. Think about it.
That's so good.
Happening to me. I don't want to force you into a decision. So.
Right. That's really good, because back to the certainty thing, if you want more certainty, but then the decision making needs to happen right now, then you're going to get feedback of, I didn't really want that. I'm not prepared.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
So I'm like, I want to know you're certain.
You're not allowed to say yes until you are certain. Yes. So I get more certainty.
Because I'm not certain. So one of us has to be.
I love that. That's so good. Filling in the gaps. That's really good. That's such a good self-awareness. Yeah. It's hard. It's so hard seeing it.
Yeah.
But that's exactly, honestly, like the way this process goes. Because I'm talking about it now, but this is after like 10 years or more, actually, of like deep, dark, hit the bottom of reality, hit the bottom of existentialism, brain-breaking trauma that took so many. It was very much like peeling an onion, where you just had like, oh my God, I never saw that before. It was like year after year, like awakening and seeing more bad. And you're like, I thought I was a pretty good person. This is so hard. Like just seeing the layers peel off and going, wow. And so we talk very aggressively about like, oh my God, masculine TE now, but I didn't see it that way in the very beginning. I didn't track it like that, or certainty. I didn't see that I was a chaos monkey. Of course not. I cared about planning. I wouldn't see that at all. So it's like, the little tiny bits of information came in, taking those tiny bits of information and deeply processing and going, oh my God, that's why I've been having all of these passive and, sleep processing. That's why I've been having all of these past problems. Yeah. And now you're connecting it internally. Oh, okay. That I want to solve that, because that means I have a better tomorrow if I solve that,
Yeah. I think, a lot of people dislike labels, and that turns them off from MBTI.
Yeah.
Like putting me in a box, but like, but with regards to this, it's like, you can't understand your behavior until you can put a word to it.
Oh,
like that helps you identify it. Like you can't see the different shades of blue if you don't have words for them. It's all just as blue,
right. That's really good. I love that.
So yeah, being able to just be like, oh, this is an FI freak out here.
Right.
Really that's like a little step one. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, and maybe like intellectualizing the problem can help you come down off of that.
Oh yeah, right. The label makes it, I know exactly what you're talking about. Like the label makes it scary because it means it feels like you can't possibly understand me because you don't have all of the information that I've gone through. No, this really was real. That time really was real. And it's like, well, if you unpack it, you start realizing it's not real, but like using the labels and starting to see, okay, if this is the label and this is the concept, this is the pattern. And then you start seeing it happening again and again from this day forward. You're now connecting, when I do that, it's this, and I want to solve this. So it doesn't become as threatening. It doesn't become as limiting. It doesn't become as controlling. It becomes a map. I see it sort of like a map where you're like, I got to own, or even like a manual. There you go, user manual. Which part is broken? Oh, it's this one. All right, work on that guy. And then, yeah, of course we have terms for it, and we try to describe it as best we can. Just from watching thousands of people, we've like narrowed it down. Like, oh my gosh, people use these phrases a lot, and so you start seeing the reoccurring pattern in your own self. Priorities, feelings. You just talking about chemicals, talking about self emotions, self chemicals, self priorities. Okay, that is FI, and your identity is connected to it. Your passions are connected to it. A lot of us FIs will say my soul, my heart, and that's how we say it. You know, the TIs will be like my truth, my inner mind, my inner way of doing things, and that's how they connect their identity. So the more you can see the label connected to, oh my God, I'm doing this all day, the more that you can actually use that to fix the problem in your computer brain, you know, broken computer brain.
It is. It's beautiful to think of a brain like a computer.
Or robots.
But yeah, I don't know, Shan. This has been an amazing talk.
Good, me too. I've had so much fun.
I never know how long these are going to go because, of course, I improvise a little bit, but this has been an amazing conversation, and I really appreciate your time. So I would encourage everybody, once again, to go over to and check out Objective Personality, because your system just takes it to such a deep level, and I have so much respect for you guys and the work that you do, and how you don't just preach it. Like, I could tell that you live it and apply it to your lives.
Thank you. Before we go, I want to say so much. Like, Dave and I talk about you all the time, you know,
thank you.
We talk about you all the time. We are so impressed by what you're doing. Like, you're somebody that is out there, you're banging against the universe, you're working through some things that, like, and I say this a lot, like the YouTube process, or the building of a business process, it's murder, you know, and like watching you go through this, choosing to be the grown-up, we really, like, we have, like, there's a handful of people that we watch and we talk about all the time, because we're like, there is someone that is moving and pushing against the universe. The more you push against the universe, you're automatically going, I got to get stronger. I got to lift myself up to this mission that I'm on. So I love you. I love what you do, everything that you're working on. We really, really like you. And like, I'm going to keep watching your journey. I'm excited to see what you're doing next with the type stuff. Very interested to see what's coming next. Of course, it'll be new.
The app is going to be, big things. The app is going to be unrecognizable from the state that it's in now. And I'm very excited about the new prototype we have. Yes.
Right.
Things.
Excited about new. Yeah.
Yes, excited about new things. Okay.
I get it. I completely get it. Very, very good. So good.
But I really appreciate your support and your kind words. It means so much to me.
Yeah. We're on Team Kate.
All right. Well, thank you, Shan.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have a good night.
Bye. You too.